So today I have on the Ppoppo Sweater from Aegyo Knits. This is actually the second time that I've made this pattern. I made it last year in a wheat colorway, and I can pop up a picture right here. And when I made it, there was some pretty big errors in the pattern itself, where the pattern was intended to be an oversized fit, but based on the gauge and the stitches given in the pattern, it was going to have negative ease. I thankfully noticed that really quickly before I had done the sleeve split, so I ended up adding extra increases and casting on extra stitches in the underarm in order to get the look that I wanted. At that time, I had written the pattern designer. She was aware of the issue with the pattern but had not released any changes yet. So this year she actually re-released the pattern with the changes. Because I already had purchased it previously, I got the updated version, and I decided, you know what, it's one of my favorite sweaters. I've worn it the most of any sweater I made last year, so I decided to try it again. And again, I really love how it turned out. I just think there's something about it that works for me. So in doing the updated version, I will say that it did not look like any of the stitch counts changed. However, the gauge changed a lot. So in my original pattern, I think it was 20 stitches for 10 centimeters, and in this pattern, it is now 17 stitches for 10 centimeters. I ended up using almost the same exact yarn, so I used Drops Lima in the colorway Ivy, and I used Drops Kids Silk in the colorway Dark Green. So I was using the same sort of thick base yarn, the Lima, as I did last time. So unfortunately, I had to redo my gauge swatch because I needed to get a different gauge. And I think that the new gauge works pretty well. It's not as oversized as my last version, but of course, the last version I did a lot of finagling to get there, whereas this one I just made the pattern straight through the way it was written, and I think the fit on it is really nice. In terms of yardage, I did use just over 1,000 yards of each of the yarns. The Lima, I believe I used 11 skeins, and for the Kids Silk I used 5 skeins, with some left over of each of those yarns. I will say on the last version, because I added extra increases and cast on extra stitches in the underarm, I was really trying to bulk up the body on my last version, but I didn't really want to make the sleeves any bigger. So when it came time to split for the sleeves on my last version, that raglan was sort of like sitting in the wrong place. But this one, because I used the pattern as intended, the raglan split is really, really nice. So you have that thick raglan that comes down here and then splits evenly into that line of knitting that goes down both the arm and the side of the body. So I think that looks really nice. The sleeves are sort of knit straight, so you don't do any decreases in these until you get right to the end, and you just do a couple of decreases before going into the cuffs. It does make quite a wide cuff on this, so I did make my sleeves a little bit shorter this time. I think last time I knit 17 inches from the underarm, and this time I only knit 16 inches from the underarm, so it just pulls it up just ever so slightly. I think it could stand to be a little bit shorter, again, because it has such that wide cuffs. These tend to, you know, get in the way if you're doing a lot of stuff, but if all you're doing is sitting at a desk and typing on a computer, it doesn't really bother me. So the entire sweater is knit in sort of the double moss stitch, so I'm hoping you can sort of see a little bit more of that detail right here. And I think it just gives it a really lovely drape. I think the sweater is just a winner. The last one I wore all the time, and I'm sure that I will wear this one as well. So one thing that I think is a little weird about this pattern is it does have short row shaping. The short row shaping is actually done in the 1x1 collar versus in actual pattern itself. So the collar in the front is shorter than the collar in the back. It does mean that I don't know if you can see, but right about here, you can see where those short rows are, and where it like bends the 1x1 ribbing ever so slightly. I don't love that bend in the ribbing. However, I can't complain about the finished result because I really love how this neck piece sits. Just perfectly dips in the front so that it's not bothering my chin at all. And I think it's a perfect height, and it sits really nicely in the back. So while I don't love that sort of bend in the 1x1 ribbing, I cannot deny that it has an excellent lay to the fabric. And I guess they just wanted to avoid having to do short rows in pattern, which might be a little bit more challenging. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at the Ppoppo sweater, and I will see everyone next time. Take care.